So I'm a jazz pianist and composer, and for I went to the University of North Texas, and I did their jazz piano program there, and I also did classical piano and jazz composition. But when I graduated, I came to this realization that I needed to figure out how I wanted to teach and who I wanted to teach, and I wanted to be able to make it a sustainable income. And so, kind of the first thing I did after I graduated, probably 6 to 8 months after I graduated, was I started working with Ben, and I really dived into improv, and I actually kind of avoided jazz for a while. I wanted to figure out, beginning stages of improv. How can I work with classical pianists who want to go into improv? And I learned it was my first time doing an online business, and I learned a ton. But one of the things I learned is that I didn't need to shy away from jazz. I thought that if I just focused on jazz, that I would be kind of put into a sea of pianists, and there would be too much competition. I wouldn't be able to, diversify myself to get clients. But then I realized that I really know a lot more about how to teach jazz, and so I decided to make a switch. And this was probably about a year ago. I did a launch for my general improvisation course, meaning that it wasn't jazz specific, and I worked for months on this launch. It was for a high ticket group program, and at the end of it, after all of this marketing and everything, I got one student in my program, which was kind of devastating, because I was trying to do kind of a cohort model where you get a bunch of students in at one time and you work them through the program. And so kind of after that, I definitely will return to that at some point, kind of a general improvisation, how to play by ear. But I decided to switch gears and to figure out some other ways to do things, other than just high ticket group programs. Because what I had done before, I had some success, but I wasn't able to. Maybe it was more that I felt like there was a disconnect between what I was doing and what I wanted to be doing. And
Yeah. So what'd you learn from that process? Like, how did you find what you actually wanted to focus on, which is jazz?
well, I'm still in the process. I think, Ben and I have talked offline about this, but I'm just about to launch my jazz piano course, the Jazz Piano Jumpstart. And for that, there's going to be kind of a standalone lower ticket thing where I can just have the course by itself. And the course is designed to get people from not playing any jazz at all. They're pianists, but they're not playing jazz at all, and get them to where they can play in a jam session in just like 12 weeks. I'm still figuring out the time frame for that, but there's that, and then there will be a group coaching tier above that. So probably the main shift that I've had is that I can have multiple products, and if the higher ticket thing doesn't work for someone, then I can easily sell something that's going to help them where they're at with the time, with the amount of time that they have, with the resources that they have. I can help them at that level.
Yeah.
and figure out how can I get them into my ecosystem? How can I get them paying attention to the way that I teach, what I do, and get them, the results, albeit probably just a little bit slower than if they were to work on me. If they were to work with me, either one-on-one or in group setting. I've just been learning about that and figuring out how I can have a model of teaching that where I can reach more people. I can get people into what I'm doing, and then later if they want to upgrade to my group courses or private coaching, they can.
I'm excited to dive into like what your thought
Yeah, well,
process is for your new model and stuff. But I like
Mhm.
what I'm genuinely curious about as well is because I know that you've like I know your journey. You've gone from teaching in like the traditional just one-on-one model to trying the high ticket group to now like figuring out how you can create your course. But
Mhm.
alignment, what I've learned is that like, alignment is a huge part of that, and I'm glad that you are on this journey of finding your alignment, finding what your like who you're meant to be, which is like it seems like Michael, the jazz pianist, and fully embracing that as well. I guess like for you, like um, being able to now just focus in on jazz, like how are you feeling being able to work towards creating an offer, a program like that now, now that you found something aligned? Like how is everything clicking or something's flowing better than before? Like how are you feeling
Yeah, I
through this
mean,
process?
I feel that that all of the teaching aspect, how am I going to structure things? How can I limit the scope of my course to where it's something that someone can actually achieve in a short period of time? That's a lot easier when it's a subject matter that I know much more deeply. But I would say
Uh-huh.
that there's kind of a separate journey as a there's the business journey with Michael, which is like there's the business journey of who is Michael and what content is he putting out, and there's what products is he offering to the marketplace. And when I say products, I mean products and services, coaching, all of that. What products is he offering to the marketplace? How is he choosing to support his clients? There's that journey, and the alignment there, which I don't think you know not a there have been some changes, but a lot of it has been this other journey for me, which has been it's always the struggle between Michael as the artist and Michael as the entrepreneur.
Mm.
And
Tell me more about that.
that's probably the most difficult balance to strike, because I am a jazz pianist, and that is that's kind of my I want to say, like, it's a big part of my musical heritage. Even classical piano and classical music, that's a big part of my musical heritage as well. But I feel like for a long while I was so focused on this other side, this business side, that I wasn't focusing on Michael as an artist. And
Mm.
so
Kind of lost sight
um,
of
I
that.
yeah, I definitely lost sight of that. And so some things that I started working on after kind of some burnout with some launches that didn't go exactly how I had planned, is I said, okay, I need to gain some of their skills that are going to help me reach these other goals. And so one of those was I really wanted to get into film scoring. And even
Mm.
as a kid, if you had asked me what I wanted to do when I grew up, it was I want to score for film. And for
Mm.
whatever reason, probably because I think when I was a teenager, my mom looked for a composition teacher for me. We didn't really find anything, and so I ended up going down the piano path, right? And
Uh-huh.
and
Oh,
I'm
okay.
I'm really happy with that path. I'm happy that I have the skills that I do. I really dug into it in high school, got full scholarships for actually classical piano, going to the University of Texas, and I did classical and jazz throughout there. I finally started getting into the composition world when I went into my master's. Um,
Uh-huh.
but it's kind of only now in the last 2 or so years that
You kind
I'm
of made
like,
like a commitment or something to
yeah,
yourself.
I'm like, I've got to start doing, um, scoring. I want to get
Mm-hmm.
into. I've always loved music for movies, and that being said, some of my favorite, or yeah, one of my favorite, arguably the greatest American composer living today, was a jazz pianist before John Williams. Before
Mm-hmm.
he was scoring for Star Wars and everything else, he was a jazz pianist. And so, um, not saying that just because I play jazz piano, I can do that, or because like a
Okay.
prerequisite or something. Not at all. But but I'm just saying that part of this journey is and I still haven't quite figured it out. It's figuring out how can Michael have a personal brand that is who he is as an artist, that is also tied in with the content that he puts out and the products that he offers to his clients.
Yes.
Because right now I definitely wouldn't be able to offer a product for film scoring because it's something that I'm new to. I'm just getting into it.
Hmm.
I've had I've had several paid projects, but I haven't had still haven't done a feature film, on my own. So it's interesting that like I'm on this journey as a composer, and I feel like you can definitely say that I'm still on a journey as a jazz pianist, but
Hmm.
um, in many respects, I've paid my dues as a jazz pianist.
Yes.
I'm, I've gotten to a certain point to the at least to the point where anybody in my area in Texas in the Dallas Fort Worth area would be happy to have me on a gig. I hope. I have not paid my dues in the composition film scoring area, and
Yeah.
so I guess
Oh,
something that I've been figuring out is, is there a way for me to connect with my potential coaching clients to be like, hey, I know that you're on this journey. You're exploring improvisation, jazz piano. Well, I'm on a journey too. So, um, figuring out how to get that into my content has been, um, it's been a little difficult, but it's something that I'm looking forward to exploring um,
yeah. You're doing the
as I,
work. I love this.
yeah,
This is so exciting. Like I'm glad this is a recent like thing for you too because yeah, a lot of things that go in my head right now. One is that it's very relevant to my story right now as well. You probably see my content where like I'm last year I made the commitment that like I'm gonna start producing music. This is something that
yeah,
I did in high school that it was for fun, but I had a
yeah,
passion in it because that's like I listen to a lot of EDM and getting into being able to learn to like when I was like testing out your course and learning to play by ear and stuff like that, that really helped me kind of dive into the music production process. And I've been doing
yeah,
that for over a year now and committing that and focusing on my DJ career as well. But we're all on this journey of not choosing between or choosing between our teaching and our musicianship. And I feel like a lot of the message that I'm putting out there now is very aligned with that, where we don't have to choose. We can be
yeah,
both, and we can have a brand that supports both. And I'm glad that you talked about the transition from jazz to film scoring as well, because it seems like you are in this new chapter of Michael. And
yeah.
a lot of the
Well, then
teachers that are
definitely not
watching
a,
the yeah
it's definitely not a financial chapter. Like
could
in
be it
terms
could
of my,
maybe in the future.
eventually it is. But
Yeah.
when I look at my income breakdown, uh, it's like just a little bit over 50% is teaching, and then maybe around 40 is performing and gigging, and then there's just like this little teeny sliver over here. That's
That's cool too. For me, I
yeah,
mean, for me, I get like $250 a night for my DJ thing,
yeah,
and it's like small percentage, but it makes it's worth it in the end. Like I could do it for free, pretty much,
yeah,
and I'd be super
yeah,
happy. And I'm glad you're on this new chapter as well. A lot of teachers that are watching this, they're like a lot of teachers who will want to switch to their hybrid model will find their I've been using this term like lifestyle music school recently, but
mm,
teachers who are wanting
yeah,
to switch to their lifestyle music school, it's usually because they're in this life chapter as well, where like they feel like it's
yeah.
time. They feel like they have more energy with that. So I'm glad you're on that journey.
Yeah, I would say even as a jazz pianist, for a lot of years, especially the years where I was in school, the goal was to get as many gigs as possible. It was just
Mm-hmm.
to work, 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 and you have to do that at some point. There has to be a point where there's this thing that you want to do, and you have to say yes all the
Mm-hmm.
time. And a lot of musicians get in the mindset that that's how it's going to be forever. That's not how, and
Can
that
I
you
ask you,
could,
like, what were some examples of that? Like, what do you mean? Like, how do you have to say yes all the time in the musician side, but also like the teaching side as well? Like, what were some
well,
situations that came up?
when you're new in a new area as a performer, and you
Uh-huh.
just want to get gigs, you want to meet musicians, you want to network with other
Mm.
people. Um, when the call comes, even if the money is like okay, like my first gig, it was my sophomore year in college. I think I had to like get a ride to my first gig because I didn't have a car yet. Had and shortly after got a car, but it only paid like $75. It was a 3 hour gig, an hour drive
Uh-huh.
there, an hour drive back. So, and then, if you're factoring in practice time, that's like 15
Yeah.
bucks, which isn't great. But it was so cool for me the very first time that I gigged. It was like, wow, I just got to play music and I got paid for it.
Yeah.
Um,
That's
Now
me
I've been
right
in this,
now. I'm in that stage.
yeah, right. And so for many years that's what it was. Even if like generally
Uh-huh.
it was my passion, it was so exciting for me to do it that I just took everything. And then I
Yeah.
would say some point, toward the end of my undergrad and into my master's, it was like, okay, I think I need to value myself a little bit more. And there are honestly some gigs that I don't enjoy so much, and I need to focus on other things, my schoolwork. And so I had to start
Hmm.
cutting down. And so kind of an idea that I've been formulating in my mind about how I would recommend to musicians who are wanting to follow this path is look at all the things that you're doing and look at just the bottom 20% of all the things that you do, whether the it's the gigs or the type of student that you don't enjoy teaching as much
Mm.
or just doesn't seem sustainable in terms of income, and figure out a way that you can transition away from that 20% and at the same time working really hard to really amplify the things that you're doing at the top, the things that you really enjoy, the things that
Mm.
you get paid more for doing. um, and I
Yeah.
would say those are the main
So
two
what were those
categories.
things? What were some things that you like? What are some of the standards and boundaries now that you're enforcing on the performing side and the teaching side that has allowed you to not just grow both sides of yourself, but enjoy it as well?
Yeah. So if I have an opportunity to play a concert for active listeners that are there to listen to me, I'm happy to do that for much less than anything else.
Mhm.
But I if it's just like a bar gig where like a 3 hour bar gig or a restaurant gig, I try not to do that for, and I know I'm throwing out numbers on the internet right now. Um,
Yeah,
Unless it's
yeah, yeah.
people that I really like to play with, I try not to do that for less than like $200.
Hmm.
Like that
Yeah.
that's like, occasionally I will make an exception for someone that I haven't played with ever before and I just want to meet them, or
Hmm.
just people I enjoy playing with. But I have kind of a boundary for that, and that's I would
Yeah.
say that's kind of a, and it depends on how long the gig is, depends on how far away it is, but that kind of like anything that's less than 200, I have to start making a judgment call. And
Hmm.
just learning how to say no after all this time of perpetually saying yes to everything. I think I'm inclined to do it, but and I think I have been totally okay with it because I like having more time at home. I have other things that I'm working on, so I can easily say I'm not going to take that gig. I'd rather be at home working on my course or
Hmm.
uh, working on content or things like that. But I've had to say no a lot, even to some of my really good friends. I've had to say no. Like um, that's not worth my time. I don't say that, but I really would have to
Yeah.
be paid more in order to do that because it's gonna knock an entire afternoon out, afternoon and evening usually.
Hmm.
So I've just had to be
Yeah.
really,
What does it look like on the teaching side?
yeah. So on the teaching
Like
side,
maybe in terms of like,
it,
yeah.
yeah, on the teaching side, it means that I mean, there's kind of a price thing of just like what my hourly rate is, and if I'm teaching privately, I have a lot of boundaries around who I will and won't teach privately.
Hmm.
I get leads through my school system that I still get emails for. You know, they'll say like lesson
Hmm.
for an 8-year old or something. And just because I focus on teaching adults, I've just made the decision that I'm just not interested in teaching anyone that's, I don't, younger than like 15 unless I have an extenuating circumstance. That's not because I don't enjoy kids or I don't enjoy
Uh-huh.
teaching kids. It's just I've chosen to focus on a different group
And
of
that's
people.
cool.
Yeah, and so there's there's kind of what I choose to say no to, which is not a lot. If someone is like coming to me and they're asking me for lessons, I'm more inclined to be like, yeah, I'll definitely teach you. Like I have a first lesson with a new client today that's she's an adult beginner,
Nice.
but I'm only taking her because she's a referral from another client. Like
Hmm. Exactly.
out of respect for that other client, I'm like, okay, I'll do that. But getting
Makes,
clear
yeah.
about who you want to teach, and I think um, probably the main thing there is that you get it, something that's inherent in good marketing is that you have to focus. If you if you go out and you put a flyer on Facebook that says, and I see this all the time from a lot of musician friends, they say, I have lesson slots for the summer available. I teach A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. And they list off all of the things. I can teach all ages, all genres. I can teach 5 or 6 different instruments. Um, that it's really weak marketing. It might work just to kind of like shave some people off the top that were thinking about it anyway. It might work for a very short period of time, but it's not a long term strategy.
Hmm.
So, um, getting a clear idea of who I want to teach and then
Nice.
creating content for those people, it's one, it's better marketing. And two, you're going to actually end up being a lot more happy, being able to charge more because you're able to create really catered programs for that specific person, and
Hmm.
you know, a recipe for just being more successful in general.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that. I'm glad that you
Yeah,
are having those strong boundaries. It's like how it translates to the way we develop our own tastes in music and our own tastes in food. It's like we try a bunch of things and we choose what we like. Like in the beginning, we take along a lot of students. We teach a
yeah,
lot of different students from different age ranges, from different experiences, and we figure out what we like. And it's as simple as that. And I think it's awesome that you're there's two ways that we can grow like a music school, right? We can grow the way where we take on everyone and everything, and we'll still make money. But
yeah.
how much more enjoyable will it be to teach the ones that you actually want to teach, the ones that you feel energized teaching as well? So I'm glad
Yeah,
you're on
and
that path.
yeah, it also depends on which types of leverage you choose to use. This is maybe just because you're
Hmm.
using the term music school, but when I hear music school, I'm thinking of maybe multiple teachers in the same,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
same school. And if you want to have just a more brick and mortar music school where you are marketing to your marketing is still focused, but it's a wider swath of the
Wider.
public
Hmm.
because you're local, that's totally fine. But likely you will need to hire teachers who are passionate about the specific types of people that you're going to serve. And you
Yeah.
yourself
And some
as a
people are
CEO
just,
entrepreneur, you might have preferences. What are you gonna say?
yeah. Yeah, you're 100% right on that. Like, there's, there, like, being able to transition to like if like thinking about music school and wanting to transition into that, like some people it's just not their vibe to have 200 students, 5 teachers on their plate. Like
Yeah.
one for me when I was growing my piano studio, like I couldn't do that physically because I was a student and I was a full time. I had to focus on that, but also energetically, like it didn't excite me. Like that idea of having a big team and having a physical location, I never saw myself. I never saw a vision of myself doing that. So like
Same.
a lot of the things
Yeah.
that a, a lot of the teachers here watching, like I hope that they get I hope that they see all this content, see what you're doing, and be able to see like there's a different way to do things out there,
There's a
like
lot of
a better
ways.
way for you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but there is there's a specific way for you. And I'm not even saying that I might eventually switch to hiring some
Yeah.
teachers to take care, but it's still going to be the specific groups of people that I choose to serve. Like one
Mm-hmm.
distinction that I've kind of been going back and forth between is currently I have two websites, and if you're wanting to look at what I'm doing, then you can go on either one. One is
Yeah.
michaelclementmusic.com, and that's kind of like my personal website. And now I have freedomatthepiano.com, but I guess you'll be able to find it at courses.freedomatthepiano.com, and that's where I have kind of my recorded. That's where I have
Nice.
my community, my courses, and all of that. And one thing I've been going back and forth on is, well, should I just have a personal brand and have all of my coaching be sold through my
Mm-hmm.
personal brand just on my michaelclementmusic.com, or should I have
Mm-hmm.
a more just a different name that doesn't include my name? And if you're thinking like way down the road, I might want to outsource some of the teaching, some of the more income producing activities. I might want to outsource that. It would make more sense to try to build, your academy in a different name. That way, it's a lot easier to outsource
Mm-hmm.
without people getting confused.
Yeah,
Um,
it's just what aligns with like the vision that you have right now. So
right.
if you foresee
And it can
yourself,
change,
I
for
might
sure.
hire teachers in the future. Then yeah, I'd love to know who now, like for Jazz Piano Jumpstart, like who is that exactly for? Like what is that
Yeah.
specific
So
like
it
dream
really
student that
is.
you would want in there?
It obviously Ben knows because I've worked with Ben, but it's the same audience as I've been working to serve. It's really just me wanting to serve them better, and to serve them in a
Mm-hmm.
different way. So the Jazz Piano Jumpstart is specifically for intermediate and advanced pianists who already have some dexterity at the piano. They can play the piano, and they're wanting to learn some basic jazz piano techniques to be able to comp or accompany in a band, be able to play
Mm-hmm.
melodies and comp and accompany themselves, and to do some basic soloing so that they can go to a jam session. Really, the whole
Ah,
idea is to get them from dreaming of playing jazz piano and never doing it to doing it and getting to a jam session. So that
and
journey,
playing with other people's.
playing with other people, because usually
Nice.
when I can get students to that stage, usually they're once they get to that stage, sometimes they don't need me anymore. And that's fine. I
Nice.
have one student, his name's Tim, and we worked together, and I basically, even though I didn't have a lot of the course actually recorded, I worked with him through the course material, and he got to the point where he was playing with others. He every 2 weeks, every 2 to 4 weeks, he would
Uh-huh.
host a jam session at his house, and then we would say it went great or it didn't go so well, and we would talk about it. But it was, after 5 or 6 of these jam sessions, he's just like, I
That's
think I
so
know
cool.
now. And so he's not working with me at the moment, but I wouldn't be surprised if he came
Okay.
back at
Shout
some.
out Tim. I love
Yeah,
that.
shout out to Tim. Um, and he's been great, and even he I would say he was he's not classically trained. He's a little bit on
Mhm.
the more beginning side of actual piano skills. And so I have a few other students that are working through the program right now that
Do you
are
find
having.
that? Do you find? Do you personally find that it's like what's your preference on teaching a student who has like who's just starting from the foundations where you can kind of mold them, or someone who has that classical experience but maybe you have to like change a few bad habits? Like, it's just your preference. Like,
I
who
would
do
say
you
definitely,
enjoy
definitely
teaching more?
trained.
Oh, okay,
I don't
okay.
know. It's not that I don't enjoy someone who doesn't have more experience. Tim was coming in with some jazz piano experience and just
Uh huh.
some ability to play the instrument. But when I make some bold claims in my course, and that's that I really want you to be able to go to a jam session in like 12 weeks. And for a lot of people,
Nice.
that's completely terrifying.
Mm.
That promise is really only valid if you can play the instrument. Um,
Hmm.
if you still have a lot of remedial things that you need to learn to just play the instrument, then it's going to be slower for you, and that's okay.
Hmm.
You know, you're because you're learning the instrument and you are learning jazz piano.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love being able to
I
work
like
with
how.
someone.
Oh no, go ahead. Go ahead. Finish that. Yeah.
Sorry. I I would much rather work with someone that has a foundation, and
Hmm.
I can easily get them from point A to point B because it's all we're focusing on. With with Tim, he had some technique things that we had to work through. He had some like muscle pain things that we had to work through with technique and things like that, and that definitely slowed us down quite a bit, and it's kind of to be expected if you're working with someone who doesn't have that classical background. But I love being
Yeah.
able to work with someone and for them to be able to say, like, I didn't understand jazz at all. And now I get how it works. And even though I have a long
Hmm.
road ahead of me, I have enough to where I feel confident going to a jam session and playing with other people.
Yeah, I love that. I like how the tangible goal is to be able to jam with people. I'm kind
Hmm.
of curious, a pianist, classical or not, who is at that stage where they know enough classical, but they feel ready to move on to jazz. Is there like a contextual, is there like some context? Is there a situation where they are like, they're like, now I want to play with other people? Because I know classical piano is like, it's such a lonely way to like grow up
Can be.
and
Can be.
because you were playing solos all the time and stuff like that, so like someone wanting to go from that to playing with others, is there like a reason for them wanting to do that? Is that internally motivated? Is that because they usually have a situation placed in front of them that they need to step up into? Like what when is
The
it like
one
important for someone to actually to make that switch?
Sure. Yeah, I would say that just in my experience talking with others, there are some people who it's just been a distant dream. Like,
Mm,
and I just wanted to make a caveat because you said moving on from classical playing to jazz playing. I don't want to make it like that. It's just I want them to
yeah,
expand. I want to
expand. Yeah, it
expand
makes
their
sense.
musicianship to a different way of expressing themselves creatively. I find
Uh-huh.
that a lot of classical pianists that I've spoken to, they don't even know where to start. They've probably been thinking about jazz piano and just like kind of admiring from a very far distance, but thinking that
Hmm.
that's not something that would be possible for them to learn in a very tangible way. A lot of I think there's a lot of better resources now, including of course my course, but
Yes, sir.
for a lot of years, kind of the rhetoric around jazz piano is like a lot of self-taught people who learned completely by ear, and who knows how they learned, right? Because there's no records, there's we only saw them once they were professionals and had recordings done of them. So
Hmm.
sometimes there's just this like there's this mist of wonder that we have around playing jazz piano, but really it can be boiled down to a specific set of skills at the very most basic level. there's a specific set of skills that you need to learn in order to play with the band. And those are, one, to be able to comp with a band. And honestly, that's like the one. If you could just comp and you can't solo or you can't play melodies, honestly, that's fine for your first jam session. And I've had plenty of students that have gone to jam sessions after the first 4 chapters of my course. Is about half the course. And they're like, I'm only gonna comp. And they had a ton of fun. But then there's, playing melodies and soloing. So, there are very tangible ways to be able to do that, to be able to get into a jam session, get to a jam session, and really be able to play confidently, even if you've only been doing it for a few weeks. If you get those basic skills.
Awesome.
I don't know if I actually answered your question.
So,
but,
I think you did. I got a good idea on that.
Yeah.
So translating it to like now your own hybrid model and the vision that you have with this course, like can you share more about like how it's structured, how the way that it's structured benefits you and the student as well? Like what is the vision of this program look like?
Yeah, a lot of the instruction that I have been following and the coaching and courses that I've been following of myself just for course creation, therefore releasing marketing, just a standalone course. So the first way is just the videos, and I haven't quite decided if there will be a community aspect for that, just like lowest level, which is basically just there's the course and all the material there, and then I'll probably have some way that you can ask questions, especially at the beginning when I first release it. And then kind of one tier above that will be the group coaching, where you can amplify your results by getting some one-on-one help in Zoom meetings and things like that to really help you get to the next level. And I mean, I do still do private lessons, but I would eventually like to. I've kind of closed the doors for that right now. I'm not accepting with that.
That's cool.
Unless there are circumstances. But that's not just because I want to be doing less one-on-one. It's also because you can get a ton more help in a group model when certain things are in place. When there's a course in place, when there's some way to get one-on-one help, you can actually get a lot more help through a group course and a community than you can with just one.
Have you been learning anything about you as a teacher? Have you been learning anything about you as a teacher as you are transitioning as you're teaching through models that require less of your hands-onness of them? Like, how are you learning more as a teacher? How are you learning more about yourself through that process?
Well, there are some things that I've learned that this is probably a more negative thing, but I've definitely realized that when I have spent hours crafting a video that perfectly explains that thing, I've discovered that that I start to enjoy repeating myself less. Because it's like, hey, dude, it's in the course. You can just check out the course. But I've also learned, beyond that, when I do have a student that does watch the videos, that does do the assignments and goes through them, and I see that they have like 95% of what I was hoping to get, it's like, wow, I was able to, I worked really hard, putting these videos together so that they would be really succinct. They would give you everything that you needed. And because you did the assignment, sometimes I'll get in a lesson with a client, and I have I have a student in Taiwan currently, and she's a great practicer, and sometimes we get to the lesson and she has just sent me a message with all of her assignments. I've reviewed them. I've given her the go ahead to go on to the next thing, and it's like, well, okay, let's continue. Like I get to the one-on-one, and it's like, why are we having this one-on-one? Just go practice. You already know what to do. And she's like, great.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
we still do the one-on-one, but you realize that most of what you do can be repeated and can be leveraged with videos, and you can help your clients out tremendously by having your system documented on video. And it's just so powerful because they get to work with you for several hours during the week without you having to be there, right? And then when you are there, you can really get them through their biggest barriers because they've already done all the work in the course, they've already done the core work, and now all that's left is some specific questions that they had, some challenges that they had, and you can usually troubleshoot those very quickly because they've already done the work. So that's kind of been probably the biggest lesson in switching to some of these hands-off models, is that they didn't need me live as much as I thought they did. And it's been amazing to see the progress that my students can make when I have, clear assignments and all of that. And then if there is a challenge, and it's kind of a challenge that's starting to be repeated, I come across it once or twice, I can quickly make a resource. I can spend the time that I would have spent doing one-on-one lessons, and I can create a resource that solves that issue for all of my students, and I can put it in with the course and make it part of the course. So
Nice. I'm glad
yeah, I think
that
very
you're
liberating.
learning a lot. I find that like when we allow our students to, when we let go and allow them to actually grow and develop themselves, it goes out, like they grow a lot faster because of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and they're
I mean,
you know
last thing
they're
that I want. Oh,
yeah. What's that?
oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, sometimes there are issues with accountability, and I've inputted things into my group coaching just to make sure that accountability aspect that people really need and expect from a higher ticket, lesson offering. I try to reach out to my students every week, even though we're not meeting every week, or they're not forced to come to their lesson to show their assignments. I have to find other ways to give them what a lesson did offer them, which was accountability, right? So anyway, that's what I was going to say.
Makes sense.
What the last thing?
Yeah, no, that's cool. Last question, because I want to be respectful of your time. What's next with Michael? Like, I'm kind of curious, because like a big thing about what I teach with the lifestyle visa school is that it should align with the life that you want to have and the vision that you want to have. So what does that look like for you, continuing to grow your entrepreneurial side, but also the musician side? Like, how is this in the direction you're moving forward with supporting that vision for you?
Yeah, I mean, currently I do client work on Thursdays and Fridays, and I have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday to be able to focus on my writing. A lot of the time is spent right now. It's spent on developing the course and doing content things, but I have a lot more time to actually devote to my musicianship and just to figuring out what I want to upgrade. I think um, it's so great to feel a level of stability and not feel like you are constantly running the both ends and feeling burnt out. I feel like I'm at a point now where I'm able to see burnout from a ways away, and I'm able to make adjustments. And so, on kind of an intangible level, I would say that's what's next, is just continuing this way of working. But more tangibly, I would say what's next. I mean, I don't even have my landing pages for the Jazz Piano Jumpstart yet, and I was intending to have them done by the time I met with Ben, so I could tell you about them. But if you're seeing this in a few weeks or in a month, definitely check out either of my websites, michaelclementmusic.com or Freedom with the Piano, courses.freedom. And I want to help you learn jazz piano. And along with that, I hope that you'll see in my content that I'm doing more artist focused content, more showcases of what I'm doing, hopefully more film scoring. No projects going at the moment,
Yeah.
but more showing projects that I'm working on and everything with that. So yeah. Thanks,
Cool.
Ben.
Well, appreciate you for being here and spending your time. I think we're echoing a little bit, but just to kind of close it out,
Okay.
I just want to say, like, Michael, me knowing you over the years, I know that you're an amazing entrepreneur, educator, musician, human being. So there's no doubt that people are going to be following you and following your footsteps as well. So appreciate you for being here. And I'll link
Yeah.
everything in like the video as well.
Great. Awesome. Thank you.
Sweet.